Katt Williams just dropped another big surprise, and once again, Tekashi 69 is right in the middle of it. Yep, the rapper with the rainbow hair who always finds trouble. Katt is calling him out hard, saying Tekashi is still talking to the police, still giving information, still making deals, and basically acting like being an informant is his full-time job. But this didn't start today. Katt's new comments didn't come out of nowhere. This whole Tekashi snitch story has been going on for years. Every time people think it's over, someone brings it back up again. And this time, Katt Williams threw gasoline on the fire. Let's rewind for a second. Remember when Tekashi went from being a loud internet troll to becoming a federal informant overnight? At first, he acted tough. He talked like he was really about street life. But the truth is, he wasn't built for it. He jumped into a gang situation he didn't understand and tried to play a role he couldn't handle. In 2018, everything fell apart. The federal government came in and arrested a bunch of people connected to the 9 gang. The charges were serious: robberies, shootings, weapons, and gang activity. It was bad. Tekashi was facing life in prison. So what did he do? He talked. A lot. Tekashi told the prosecutors everything: who did what, who was involved, how things worked, where people went. He explained it all. Because of that, instead of spending the rest of his life in prison, he only got 2 years. The prosecutors even said his help was extremely useful. By 2019, everyone in the hip-hop world was calling him one thing: a snitch. The internet went crazy. Memes were everywhere. People joked about him non-stop. He became known as Snitch for life. Most people thought he would stay quiet after that, but he didn't. When Tekashi came home, he acted like nothing happened, like the label didn't exist anymore, like people forgot. That's when Meek Mill stepped in. Meek wasn't scared to speak up. Back in 2018, while Tekashi's case was still fresh, Meek warned him in an interview. He said if you put bad energy into the world, it comes back to you. He was basically telling Tekashi to slow down, stop acting wild, and focus on making money instead of trouble. Meek even said he wanted to talk to Tekashi privately, not about jail, but about life. He warned him that nobody wants to live surrounded by security all the time. But Tekashi didn't listen. Instead, he went online and started disrespecting Meek, saying Meek wasn't really street and didn't live what he rapped about. That made things worse. By 2020, the beef exploded. Meek posted online saying he wished Tekashi would apologize to the people he told on and the victims. He also said real people like Nipsey Hussle died and left families behind, while Tekashi avoided consequences. That hit hard. Tekashi fired back in the worst way. He mocked Meek for caring about someone with rainbow hair while Meek had just welcomed a newborn baby. People were shocked. They couldn't believe how far Tekashi was willing to go. Meek tried to stay calm, but kept calling Tekashi a keyboard informant, saying he pretends to care about justice while really performing for rich people behind the scenes. Then Tekashi dropped the song Gooba. Meek laughed it off and said the song was trash. That should have been the end, but it wasn't. Tekashi claimed Meek only talks about justice when cameras are around, and tried to flip the story like he was being bullied. Then came the Atlanta parking lot incident in 2021. The two camps ran into each other, yelling, arguing, and pointing fingers. Meek later said Tekashi was waiting outside the club for him, almost like he wanted trouble. That moment made everything feel real. And here's the strange part. Tekashi always talks tough to real street rappers, but nothing ever seems to happen to him. He's always surrounded by security, he always walks away. That's why people say he hides behind protection while poking at others. Katt Williams has been joking about this for years. One time, Katt even went on stage wearing a rainbow wig making fun of Tekashi. He called him a rat and laughed at his excuse: "They weren't my real friends." The crowd loved it. Earlier this year, Katt went on Theo Von's podcast and said something that caught everyone's attention. He didn't say names, but he said some rappers act like tough street soldiers while really working for the government, staying free because they're useful. Everyone knew who he meant. People online said, "That's Tekashi. Who else fits that story?" Tekashi keeps getting into drama, trolling people, and somehow never facing serious consequences again. Then rumors started spreading. People said Tekashi might still be cooperating with the government. Some pointed out how he got caught in trouble again recently and walked away clean. That made people suspicious. Fans online started saying things like, "He never stopped snitching. Katt is saying it without saying it." What made it worse was Tekashi started calling other rappers snitches, including Young Thug. The internet exploded. People said, "Isn't that the same thing you did?" Memes flooded everywhere. Tekashi defended himself again with the same excuse. They weren't my real homies, but people weren't buying it. They said you were eating with them, traveling with them, and making videos with them. Stop lying. That's why Katt Williams' words hit so hard. He didn't say anything new. He just said out loud what people have been thinking for years, that Tekashi might have never stopped cooperating. Not in 2018, not after prison, maybe never. When you look at everything, the court case, the short sentence, the protection, the constant trouble with no punishment, it all starts to feel strange. Tekashi keeps showing up in headlines. One day he's throwing money in Miami, the next day he's disrespecting rappers who are known to be serious, yet nothing ever happens to him. People started asking, how is this possible? Rumors grew about secret deals, quiet protection, and connections no one sees. Fans started digging into old interviews where Tekashi bragged about knowing too much and being too smart to go back to jail. That made people uncomfortable. One fan said it best, "He's been skating on thin ice for years, but it never breaks." And that's why the streets are watching closely. Because Katt Williams just reminded everyone of the question nobody can stop asking. Is Tekashi just lucky, or is he still working with the system? Katt Williams just lit a match and tossed it straight into a room full of gasoline. No names, no paperwork, just one sharp statement that instantly had the whole internet spinning in circles. When he talked about rappers pretending to be street soldiers while secretly working with the system, everybody's mind snapped to the same person, Tekashi 69, the rainbow-haired rapper who somehow keeps dodging trouble while talking louder than anyone else. And that's what made Katt's words hit so hard, because this wasn't new information. This was something people have been whispering about for years, afraid to say out loud. Tekashi has always been loud. From the beginning, his whole brand was chaos. Bright hair, screaming music, constant disrespect. He made a career out of trolling people who were actually dangerous. And somehow, every time it felt like he finally crossed the wrong line, nothing happened. No real punishment, no serious consequences. Just another headline, another viral moment, another paycheck. People started asking questions a long time ago, but Katt Williams just brought those questions back to the front. See, in the streets, there's one rule everybody understands, even kids. If you talk too much, move reckless, disrespect everyone, and still walk around untouched, something isn't adding up, especially when your past already includes cooperating with the police. That's why Tekashi's story never really cooled down. It just went quiet for a bit, like a fire burning under ashes, waiting for someone to blow on it again. And Katt Williams did exactly that. When Katt spoke, he didn't sound angry, he sounded confident, like someone who already knows the truth and is just watching everyone else catch up. That's what scared people, because Katt has been in the industry for decades. He's seen how things work behind the scenes. He's watched who gets protected and who gets thrown away. So when he hinted that certain rappers stay free because they're useful to the system, fans immediately connected the dots. Tekashi's past made it impossible to ignore. Back in 2018, when the feds arrested the 9 Trey gang, Tekashi was facing serious time, life-changing time, the kind of time you don't come back from. But instead of fighting the case quietly, Tekashi made the decision that changed everything. He cooperated fully, he testified, he explained how things worked, and the government rewarded him with a much lighter sentence. Most people thought that would be the end of his street image. Nobody expected him to keep acting the same way. But Tekashi didn't just return, he came back louder, more disrespectful, more confident, almost like someone who knew he had a safety net. And that's when the rumors really started. Why is he still moving this way? Why does he keep trolling real street rappers? Why doesn't anyone touch him? Those questions never had clear answers. Every time something almost happened, Tekashi was surrounded by security or police or legal protection, always just out of reach. That made people uncomfortable, because the streets don't forget and they don't forgive easily. Yet Tekashi kept skating by. Then came the beefs. Meek Mill.
From a legal point of view, that's how the system works. Cooperate and you get time shaved off. But from a street point of view, that label never comes off, ever. Once someone cooperates, they're done in that world. That's why most people expected Tekashi to disappear, move quietly, and avoid attention. Instead, he did the opposite. When Tekashi came home, he went straight back online, mocking people, laughing at his past, acting like the rules didn't apply to him. That's what confused everyone, because usually people who cooperate stay low. They don't provoke, they don't invite danger. Tekashi did all of that and more. His beef with Meek Mill showed this clearly. Meek tried to warn him early on, telling him to slow down and stop putting bad energy into the world. Tekashi ignored that advice and escalated the situation. Their online back and forth turned ugly, personal, and disrespectful. Yet even after public confrontations and near run-ins, nothing ever happened to Tekashi. Then there was Young Thug. When Tekashi called Thug a snitch, people lost it. The irony was impossible to ignore. Fans immediately called him out, saying he was accusing others of the same thing he was known for. Tekashi's excuse stayed the same every time. They weren't my real friends. But the streets rejected that explanation. Loyalty isn't something you turn on and off when it's convenient. Meanwhile, Tekashi kept surviving every situation. Arrest rumors faded, charges disappeared, drama came and went. And that's when people started asking deeper questions. Was he just lucky, or was something else going on behind the scenes? Katt Williams' recent comments gave those questions new life. Katt didn't accuse Tekashi directly. He didn't need to. He described a type of rapper, one who stays free while causing chaos, one who benefits from cooperation long after the case is over, one who moves recklessly without paying the price. Fans immediately connected that description to Tekashi's behavior, especially when rumors surfaced about him slipping out of legal trouble again recently. Nothing stuck, no consequences, just silence. That silence was louder than any headline. People online began pointing out patterns. Tekashi always seems to know what's coming. He always positions himself around drama but avoids the fallout. He talks like someone who knows the rules won't touch him the same way they touch others. That confidence is what scares people. Because in the streets, confidence like that usually comes from power or protection. Katt Williams didn't say Tekashi is still cooperating, but he didn't say he wasn't either. He just opened the door and let everyone look inside. And once that door opened, it became impossible to close. Now, every move Tekashi makes gets analyzed. Every headline feels suspicious. Every escape raises eyebrows. The question isn't just about snitching anymore. It's about trust, image, and how the system really works behind the scenes. And that's why Katt Williams' words mattered so much, because sometimes the most dangerous truths aren't shouted. They're whispered just loud enough for everyone to hear. And now, the streets are listening. So now we're at the point where everything comes together. All the rumors, all the moments that didn't make sense, all the questions people were scared to ask out loud. Katt Williams didn't expose secret documents or leak court files. He didn't have to. He did something way more powerful. He reminded everyone to pay attention. Because when you step back and look at the full picture, Tekashi 69's story doesn't feel normal. It doesn't follow the same rules other rappers had to live by. People who talked less got punished harder. People who stayed quiet disappeared. But Tekashi? He stayed loud, disrespectful, and reckless, and still walked free. That's why this conversation matters. This isn't just about Tekashi, it's about how the music industry, the streets, and the system sometimes overlap in ways most fans never see. It's about how image can protect you, how usefulness can be rewarded, and how some people seem to move with invisible shields while others don't get a second chance. Now, here's where you come in. Don't just watch these stories like they're entertainment. Ask questions, think deeper. When you see someone constantly involved in chaos but never facing real consequences, ask yourself why. When someone trolls everyone, calls others snitches, and still moves freely, pause and connect the dots. Because stories like this don't exist in a vacuum. And if you've been following hip-hop for a long time, you already know this isn't the first time the streets and the system blurred lines. We've seen artists get silenced. We've seen careers destroyed. We've seen real ones lose their lives. And then we've seen others skate by untouched. That contrast is loud. So if this story made you think, even a little, do 3 things right now. First, share this, not because it's gossip, but because conversations like this get buried when people stay quiet. Sharing doesn't mean you're picking sides, it means you're keeping the discussion alive. Second, drop a comment. What do you think? Do you believe Tekashi was just surviving? Or do you think Katt Williams is hinting at something deeper? There's no wrong answer, but your perspective matters. Third, stay subscribed and tapped in, because this story isn't over. Tekashi hasn't slowed down, Katt Williams hasn't backed off, and the internet never forgets. New clips, new interviews, and new situations keep popping up, and when they do, you'll want the full breakdown, not just headlines. Now, let's talk about the bigger lesson. Tekashi's story shows what happens when fame moves faster than wisdom. When someone builds a brand on disrespect and chaos, they eventually lose control of it. Even if nothing happens today, the pressure builds. History shows that actions echo, sometimes immediately, sometimes years later. Katt Williams understands that. That's why he speaks the way he does. He doesn't rush, he plants seeds, he lets people connect the dots themselves, and when they do, the truth hits harder. And here's the truth most people don't want to admit. Survival and betrayal are not the same thing, but they often get confused. Some people say Tekashi did what he had to do to survive. Others say he crossed lines that can't be uncrossed. Both sides exist, and both sides deserve to be heard. But what nobody can deny is this: once trust is broken, it never fully comes back. That's why Tekashi will always carry this question with him. No matter how much money he makes, no matter how loud he laughs, no matter how many security guards surround him, the doubt follows him everywhere. And Katt Williams just made sure nobody forgets it. So as fans, as listeners, and as observers of culture, the responsibility is simple. Don't let noise distract you from patterns. Don't let jokes hide warnings. And don't confuse protection with innocence. Hip-hop has always been about truth. Sometimes that truth comes through music, sometimes it comes through comedy, and sometimes it comes through silence so loud it makes people uncomfortable. This story isn't finished, not even close. So stay alert, stay curious, and stay locked in, because when the next chapter drops, you'll want to understand it before the internet twists it. If you made it this far, you already know. This wasn't just another headline. This was a reminder.